Yes, girl.
Yeah. Terms and conditions apply. See store for details.
Decided what to eat yet, hun?
Yep, almost.
If only this was easy like when we switched to Flow.
Best decision ever. Combining our mobile with Flow Internet
Saving hundreds each month on our mobile.
and getting double data to share for up to 4 lines. My ideas are the best.
Any idea when you'll make this decision?
Yeah, soon. Switch to Flow Postpaid and sign up for internet for big mobile savings and double data as low as $80 per line. Visit discoverflow.co for details. Conditions apply.
Buster, pour it up, need the thirst quencher in my cup. If you have one, hold it up and say, Buster put the colors in my life. Refreshing and nice, and I drink that what we like. Buster, you're full of vibes, living for the color. And I'm black and white, we do what we like. We live to enjoy life. Buster, pour it up, different flavor. Load it up. If you have one, hold it up and say, Buster put the colors in my life.
Good morning, Sinkers and Nevers, and welcome to Voices right here on WinFM 98.9. Today is Monday, February 21st, 2022, and you're listening to Voices. I'm your host for today, Devon Cornelius. Remember, we are live on Facebook and YouTube at Win Media SKN. You can also send us a WhatsApp message at 662-2204. And of course, later on in the program, we will be opening the phone lines for your participation. This is Voices on WinFM 98.9. Good morning. It's a beautiful Monday morning here in St. Kitts and Nevis, and you're listening to WinFM 98.9 for Voices. I'm your host for today, Devon Cornelius. Now, joining me on today's program is my colleague, Yolanda Weeks, and we're going to have a very fun and interesting conversation here today on Voices. Welcome to Voices. Thank you so much for joining. It is 6 minutes past the hour of 11, and as I said earlier, I'm being joined today by my colleague, Yolanda Weeks, and we're going to have a very fun and interesting discussion today. It's similar to that we had, I think it was the Friday before last week. It wasn't last week Friday, it was the Friday before. Now, of course, we are still celebrating Black History Month, but let me say that in the Caribbean, I think it is safe to say that we celebrate Black History Month every month. We're always remembering where we come from, our Black history and our culture here in the Caribbean and, of course, at home in St. Kitts and Nevis. But we want to have, a very fun discussion with you today. Of course, the reason for this is Black history and remembering where we come from, what we did 50, 60, 70 years ago versus what we're doing today. Of course, things have changed, times have changed, some have changed for the better, some have changed for the worst. But we want to have a conversation with you, the good listeners of 1FM 98.9, about some of the disciplinary methods that you used back in the day with your children, or some of the disciplinary methods that were used on you back in the day. And I think this is going to be a very fun discussion. And this would tie into the conversation surrounding, social and community development, as many of us are familiar with the frequent, the phrase where it says it takes a village to raise a child. Now, we know, for the most part, that was a thing way back when. It has changed where you're not seeing much of that. Communities that were once very close-knit and working together to ensure that the children of that community are successful, it is not necessarily the case today. And everybody is now, looking out for themselves, making sure that they make it. Some would say something is wrong with that. Others would say absolutely not. People just have to look out for themselves, and perhaps that is a part of the change. Things are changing and people are changing with the times. But again, we want to talk with you about some of the disciplinary methods that you use in the past, or some of the disciplinary methods that you know of, and some of the things that you did that you made you get licks versus what we're seeing now, where things have definitely changed. So as I said, I have here with me my colleague Lana Weeks. Lana, tell the people a bit of, I think they know you already, but give them a bit of who you are, and we jump right into this discussion.
Introduce myself to the people? Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Okay, hi everyone. Good morning. It's Yolanda Weeks. I'm Yolanda Weeks from Nevis. I started working at WinFM just a little over a month ago, and it's happy to be here on Voices with you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Yolanda. So we want to get right into the discussion. But give me 1 second. We're having some technical difficulties here. We'll check it out and we'll get right back to you.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
Shopping with TDC just got much easier. Here's how. Log on to shoptdcgroup.com. Shop at your convenience at any time, from anywhere, with your smartphone, tablet, or computer. With our safe and secure payment checkout, you choose the option to pick up in-store or have your goods delivered right to your door. It's that easy. Shop tdcgroup.com, your one-stop online store.
Shop anywhere, shop anytime, same quality you love. Now online. Shop www.tdcgroup.com.
www.shoptdcgroup.com.
Decided what to eat yet, hun?
Yep, almost.
If only this was easy like when we switched to Flow.
Best decision ever. Combining our mobile with Flow Internet
Saving hundreds each month on our mobile.
and getting double data to share for up to 4 lines. My ideas are the best.
Any idea when you'll make this decision?
Yeah, soon. Switch to Flow Postpaid and sign up for internet for big mobile savings and double data as low as $80 per line. Visit discoverflow.co for details. Conditions apply.
Pump it up with Quicks. One pump and you're pumping. Dishes done, you're smiling. Pump it up with Quicks. Keep pumping. Pump it up some more. Pump it up. Grease is gone for sure. Pump it up. All your dishes fixed. Pump it up. Pump it up with Quicks. I don't want a dirty sink. Keep pumping up with Quicks now. Clean that sink. Pump it up some more. Pump it up. Grease is gone for sure. Pump it up. All your dishes fixed. Pump it up. Pump it up with Quicks. Pump it up.
Welcome back to Voices right here on WinFM 98.9. So sorry about that. We had some technical difficulties with the microphone for Yulana. So I'm sure the people didn't hear what you had to say. But Yulana, I think this is your second time. This is actually your first time officially on Voices. How do you feel? And say good morning to the many listeners at home and abroad.
Good morning to our fans in the diaspora and, of course, right here at home in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. I am Yolanda Weeks. As Devon told you, I'm from Nevis. I'm a journalist here at Win FM. It's wonderful to be here with you on the Voices program, and I'm sure we're going to have a wonderful interactive session this morning.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Yolanda. And as I said before, we want to have a conversation with you, the listeners, on some of the old-time disciplinary methods. And this is more so a follow-up from our conversation we had about 2 Fridays ago, where we spoke of old-time sayings and old-time proverbs. But today we want to continue the conversation and shift into some of the old-time disciplinary methods. Perhaps there may not be a lot of the disciplinary methods, but we want to have a conversation on what took place then and what is happening now. Well, Yolanda, you and I, we're pretty young, so we would only give an account of what is happening now. But, of course, we have some callers who would be happy to share with us some of the, the stories and some of the disciplinary methods that were used 40, 50, 60 years ago. And what is different now? What are we seeing in society that is a result of the change in how we discipline our children, if you understand where I'm coming from? Remember, I said earlier it takes a village to raise a child. That was once a thing. Would you agree with me when I say it perhaps it's not so much so today?
Yes, I agree. It is not so much so today. We are not finding that neighbors are living closely with each other. Sometimes you have a neighbor and you don't even know who the neighbor is. So I agree with you.
Mm-hmm. And I like that you said that because I've heard grandparents and older people in the community say that way back then, the community was so closely knit and everybody got along with everybody, and you were able to call on your neighbor. And back then, most people would refer to their neighbor as a brother or a sister or just extended family. But that has changed now.
Or the children would say auntie or
Uncle,
uncle.
right? You wouldn't address. So let's say you have an elder in the community whose name is John Doe. Don't you dare call him John. It's either Mr. Doe or Uncle Doe or whatever. But what do you think? Or why do you think it is not like that?
Change of time. Change of time. Change of system. When we think about what social services would say when you beat your child, abuse. If you have to talk about how they used to get licks then compared to now. Now we will call it abuse. Back then they say love.
You know, and that's interesting too, because how do you differentiate between disciplining your child and abusing your child? Because in one case, yes, some parents may be really disciplining their child because of something that happened. And in some cases, it could be classified as abuse. What are your thoughts on that?
That is true. It is the story behind it, what that child did, how often, how much you beat that child, what you beat that child with, you know, your anger level at that point. You know, sometimes we beat, and we don't want to stop. Even when you see blood, you know.
Is that still considered discipline?
Probably bad discipline, I don't know.
Well, you see, everybody would have their own explanation of it. But that has been a conversation, a hot topic for a long time in terms of discipline and in terms of abusing your child. And of course, you're seeing now where times have changed. I know in certain countries it is forbidden that you use corporal punishment on your children, while in other countries it is endorsed and it is supported. Some, I think, have taken advantage of it. Others have not. And genuinely, people really try their best. I mean, I'm not here to tell people that you did not do a good job or you did a wonderful job. You did what you thought was best. But the question always comes in, or that topic of the disciplinary methods and how different were they. Now, this part of this conversation, Yolanda, is the topic of delinquency, juvenile delinquency, which would lead to crime. And some would say because we no longer see it takes a village to raise a child, or we no longer see where neighbors are looking out for the children within the community, crime has increased. But truth be told, crime has been here for a very long time, and it is not something that you could get up on a Monday and wipe away. Perhaps it is the increase or the rapid increase in crime. But in terms of a child, let me say, going down the path that the parents did not want them to go, where would you say all of that would start? In terms of, let's say you have a child who they're in their 20s, 30s, and they're into crime and violence and they're into the gangs and everything. Where do you think all of that started? Some would say, well, they just got some friends about 2-3 years ago, and their friends were able to influence their decision. Some would say it began at a very early age. What would you say?
Different things, Devon, different things. We have technology, what we look at, the games we play. Some would say it stems from being abused as well, right? They develop an anger, and they take it out on everybody else.
Yeah.
So those two, for sure, I can see how they would play a part. And just like you said a while ago, the same very thing.
Yeah. Would you say technology has played a role in the way how we discipline our children, in terms of it sounds weird, but technology in the sense that, well, 50 years ago you never had a camera. 50 years later you have cameras with technology and live and all of this. I can recall several times going through Facebook and seeing videos of parents beating their children.
Gone viral.
That is not to say that it is happening now. It's been happening for a long time, but it's just that technology has changed and people are now capturing these things and posting these things on the internet. Now, hearing how you perhaps may be telling one of your friends that you had to discipline one of your children, and this is what you did. Hearing it and seeing it, two different things. Now, if you hear it, you're like, oh, yeah, good, yeah. But when you see it now, you're like, oh, my gosh, what is this? You know? So I would say perhaps technology has played a role in terms of how people discipline across the board, how people discipline their children. But this is a very interesting conversation. But we want to hear from you. So call us at 466-0989 and 762-0989. The overseas lines are open as well. Call us at 033-344-0065. In the USA, you can call us at 718-285-6984. And if you are in Canada, call us at 305-921-4619. Those are the numbers to participate in today's edition of Voices. Yolanda, it is 23 minutes past the hour of 11. We'll take a break to give a shout out to our sponsors, and when we come back, we'll continue the discussion right here on Voices. Stick and stay. We'll be right back.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
Decided what to eat yet, hon?
Yep, almost.
If only this was easy like when we switched to Flow.
Best decision ever. Combining our mobile with Flow Internet
Saving hundreds each month on our mobile.
and getting double data to share for up to 4 lines. My ideas are the best.
Any idea when you'll make this decision?
Yeah, soon. Switch to Flow Postpaid and sign up for internet for big mobile savings and double data as low as $80 per line. Visit discoverflow.co for details. Conditions apply.
Rams is for you and me. Giving back to community. Rams is for you and me. Better for your family. Better service, better price, better value, better choice. Rewarding you for loyalty. Rams is for you and me. Better price and quality.
TDC Financial Services. We're here for you to help you make your dreams come true. Whether your needs are big or small, we'll support you with them all. TDC Financial Services. We are strong. TDC Financial Services. This is where you belong.
TDC Financial Services, where money is made easy.
Welcome back to Voices on WinFM 98.9. I'm your host for today, Devon Cornelius. Thank you so much for joining us. It is 25 minutes past the hour of 11, and we're continuing this conversation. Now, Yolanda, we're seeing today where some children are very daring. You hit them, and they're ready to hit you back. There's some children that tell you straight up, if you hit me, I'm going to hit you back. I wouldn't say that is children changing. I think this has been going on for a long time, but as I said, technology And then you mentioned technology in the sense that what we see on television, the games that we play, the movies that we watch on
Yes.
Netflix. Even though Netflix now has the kids section, that too is still a bit questionable in terms of some of the things that are showed there. But I think technology and what they see on television and generally on the internet has played a critical role in how we discipline our children.
That's true. That is true.
And it is, one would say it is good, surprising, or one would say it is bad. But again, back to the point of what we see on social media, what we see in these movies, I think they play a big role in what our children do. Now, people would make the argument that you should be monitoring your child in terms of what they look at, what they look at on the internet and all of that. While I agree, because you don't want your child to be looking at things that they should not be looking at the same time, the question of privacy comes in. Some parents disagree when they say, some parents disagree when others say that children should have privacy. What are your thoughts on that, as a mother?
No child has privacy.
Yeah.
None.
Why you say that?
Privacy? Children? The only privacy they have is, well, should be protecting their personal self, their areas, private areas.
Private,
But that in that regard, no.
Yeah.
No, I have a right to see what my child or my children are watching.
Yeah, and some parents feel that way too. Some others believe that they should be able to do a check now and then to see what their children are looking at, especially if they are at a very young age, because you shouldn't give your child a tablet or an electronic device at a pretty young age and not supervise them. And don't not supervise them, and then when they start to look at the things that you did not want them to look at, then you come and say you're going to discipline them. That is something that I don't agree with. Disciplining or making sure that the child is doing what they're supposed to be doing, it begins from the very moment you give them that device. So you make sure that it is set for children. You make sure that certain sites or whatever is blocked, but you don't just take your tablet or an electronic device and give it to a child just like that without any level of supervision. And then after they do something that they were not supposed to do, you come and you want to discipline.
There are also some sites for the family as well that you can monitor what each other is watching or doing on their device.
Right.
And I think that works well. So my 12-year-old, she has her own, stuff, her own device and, number and so on and so forth. But she's quite aware that I can see what she's watching or what she's doing on the internet or whatsoever. So she's aware.
Right. So, yeah, and as I said, there are other parents who feel that way. Now, as we were saying earlier, 50 years ago, we did not have all of these technology and all of these things. And so while children were, let me not say doing things, because 50 years ago, when we did not have all of this technology, most of the children were outside playing.
That's true. I was outside playing. My children don't.
Everybody was outside playing, running up and down the neighborhood, pitching marbles, helping an elderly person in the community with their groceries. Today, it's everybody's inside, everybody on their tablet, on the internet, doing something. I'm not sure if you realize this, but this is a broad conversation that we're having, a general conversation. But when you look at the workforce today, and when you look at young people across the board, you would often hear the cry that there is no employment for young people, and young people want employment. And I had the opportunity of having a discussion, like a one-on-one discussion on that area in terms of young people and employment. And one of the concerns were from that person who is an employer was that while we have young people who they come out of school with the requirement of for the subjects, more than 5 subjects, they did well in school, they were average, they're rough on the edges. So some are naturally rude, some don't know how to socialize, some have no customer skills, some are not willing to learn. They're just not ready to be in the adult world or work or
The workplace.
the workplace, you know? And so employers find a hard time in terms of bringing them on. I think that has to do with technology, where everybody's just stuck to their device, and now with the means of communication, WhatsApp, Facebook, these other platforms, with these emojis, you send a laughing emoji when really and truly you have your hand under your chin.
That's true. I'm guilty of that.
I think we're all guilty of that. We're all guilty of that with the emojis now, where you can send an emoji just to say that you're crying when you're not crying.
You're
and
laughing.
So, right. So these emojis, they are a big lie because people use them to cover up their real emotions. And I say that to say that perhaps that is the reason why you find a lot of people are rough on the edges, because they have not been exposed to real life and exposed to how to deal with people. Of course, not saying that it is impossible and you can't do that with training, but technology, for the better, for the worse. What are your thoughts on that?
Everything has its advantage and disadvantage, Devon.
Mm-hmm.
Everything has its advantage and disadvantage. And I think it's just about monitoring. Monitoring ourselves. We as adults too. We sit down and we chat on our phone.
All day.
And our children watch on. And then they come and do the same thing. Want a phone all day because we're not paying attention. So it's good to have technology, but there's still that negative side to it, and we must control.
There has to be a cutoff point.
Yeah.
There really has to be a cutoff point, and we have to learn how to control ourselves when using these platforms, because they can do more harm than good.
And even for us as adults, some of us, the work that we do, like me and you, it forces us to be on the computer, to be on the internet, on the phone.
Right. To see what's happening.
Every minute of the day to see what's going on. And it's just about letting that child understand that this is work for me, right? This is work to feed you. But there are, other cases where parents just on the phone chatting, and that child is left alone on his or her tablet, not knowing how to interact or socialize.
That is that is a problem that is affecting our education system. We can't go too deep because we don't have statistics or anything to back up that claim. But I think on the surface, it is affecting our education system, and generally, it is affecting how our children grow and develop. Because, as I said, the children know, or perhaps even us, as we mentioned earlier, we are, I don't want to use that word, but we're kind of falling victims to these devices because we're so tied to them and so glued to them. We forget what it means to, socialize with people. But back to the conversation, back to the what drove this whole topic was the disciplinary actions that we're seeing being used today versus what was used way back when. I'm pretty sure, Joanna, you have experienced this where you're perhaps at your supermarket or you're in Charlestown, Bastia, and you see a parent struggling with their child. And this is struggling in terms of disciplining that child. The child is throwing a whole tantrum, making noise, getting on, and the parent is literally struggling, crying.
Behave yourself.
Because they don't know what to do. No, as you said, that behave yourself. Some would just say behave yourself and put them in a timeout. Others would hit them too late and then put them in a timeout. I wouldn't agree with that being the remedy or the solution every time that situation occurs, something that happens. Because, again, while I'm not a psychiatrist or not a psychiatrist, sorry, someone who deals with children and understanding how children would function.
Psychologist.
Right. That perhaps may do more harm than good, because you may think you may be fixing the situation. Don't get me wrong. In some cases, some children could be, very disgusting, and sometimes you really have to, give them a little brush up now and then to say, humble yourself, fix yourself, and you don't do this in public, But again, as you're having this conversation, this requires a conversation with the experts to hear their take on this situation. But back to my point, we have experienced something like this where we see parents struggle with their children and they look so frustrated, they don't know what to do. Have you ever experienced something like that where you see people in a situation like that?
All the time. All the time, and I could never understand it.
Yeah.
How a child could be there, like, literally beating off a parent.
It's interesting.
Yes, it's interesting to see.
It's interesting. And, as you say that, some would say, well, because you're the parent, you should know how to handle. It goes back to my point. There are some parents, they're doing their best. And in their mind, they think that they're at their worst. And they have no idea of what they're doing. Some of the parents, in their mind, well, I am doing my best. I am confident. I am sure. I know what I am doing. Some parents, they feel that they have failed. Some parents feel that they have been doing well and they have succeeded in making sure that their children come out to be what they wanted them to be. But in the midst of all of that, Ilana, we have to remember that children will have a mind of their own. Not to say that we should allow them to go astray. We should guide them to make sure that they do what is right. But children have a mind of their own. And what is now influencing that mind is technology and how things are done today. And just the drastic change that we have seen in our culture. We want to hear from you. I think the listeners, they're listening. They like the conversation, but the phone lines are open, so we want to take your calls at 466-0989 and 762-0989. The phone lines are open. We want to hear from you on this topic that we are having. But yeah, Yolanda, it is very interesting, and the topic of disciplining and how to discipline your child is always a delicate one, because everybody cannot discipline their child the same.
Nope.
And
each situation is different as well.
Sure. Yeah, and everybody would have their own situation. Your child is different to my child, and I would know how to deal with that child. You would know how to deal with yours. Now, what is your take on, back to my point of, it takes a village to raise a child? Some would take that to mean, okay, let's take a pin, Jelena. We have our first call for this morning. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Hello.
Hi, caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead.
It's Ferdinand speaking. I have 5 children, 5. 3 of them live with me up to this moment. And I'm telling you, I'm so proud of them. I'm in a wheelchair. At one time I was in my bed, couldn't do nothing. The only thing I remember I could have done is watch the roof in the house. Calling on my back. Can't do nothing, can't move, can't turn over. And 2 girls, 1 boy. And they make me feel so proud. They make me feel so proud. When I went to Trinidad to do my surgery, my elder daughter went with me. And something happened to me in Trinidad. I was staying by a home. I can't many people just say I have seen it. But I want to move. I want to move. And when I was in Trinidad, I fall, mess up the place. My belly come down on me. And the lady where we were staying by, she was, after everything over, she said to me, she said, first of all, your daughter loves you. I said, look, I have to clean it. If she knows clean it, I'll have to do it. See, when I watch you cleaning you, bathing your skin, I mean, see, you feel she had. That is my daughter. And I tell you, I got 3 children here with me, and I'm very proud of them. Very, very proud of them.
All right, then.
And they never leave this house in morning time, and they didn't see me. Move. I must move. They didn't just leave the house and just left me in the bed laying down.
All right, then, caller, thank you so much for your...
I thank for them. Thank you.
Yeah. Caller, thank you so much for your contribution to this program. We're still taking your calls here on Voices on WinFM 98.9. Call us at 4660989 and 7620989. Remember, we're also live on Facebook at Win Media SKN as well as YouTube. And we're also on Twitter. So check us out on Twitter and Instagram. We are live there. Thank you, caller, for that contribution. Thank you so much. I lost train of my thought. Something I was going to say, and I forgot.
Child.
Repeat that, sorry.
You were saying something about takes a village to raise a child.
Yeah, so it takes a village to raise a child. What does that mean? What would you say that mean?
All hands on deck in rearing our nation's children. That's what it means.
Okay, stick a pin. We have a call on the line. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Devon.
Good morning. How are you?
Good morning to your guest.
Good morning.
This is a very interesting topic.
Indeed.
I have learned, and I guess I would have gotten this from my parents, that parenting is a partnership. You're not put on this world to rule and scream at and chastise your child. You're here to bring them along with you. Trust is a big factor. And in partnering with your child, you're empowering them to be independent, to learn how to think things out rationally. I always say to my son, what would you do? What would you do? Because I want to hear where his mind is at. Mommy's not always going to be around to make the decision for you. So I would like to know where his thoughts are and what would he do when he's faced with that circumstance when nobody else is around. The village raising the child thing, that's something I've always wrestled with. A village can't raise my child. Yes, I need their support, but a village, and I think that's where we lose our children, because some parents allow the children to just be out there doing whatever and thinking that the village is looking out for them, and the village is not looking out for them. There are a lot of people out there that are using our children. When my son was much younger, he had to report to me if it came back and he wasn't at home yet. Where are you? What time are you coming home? And even as he got older, I would call him 11 o'clock, midnight. Where are you? I'm getting ready to close your eyes. Are you okay? What time are you coming home? because you want to know where your children are at. And believe it or not, they don't want their friends to know that their parents are calling them. But
That's
I
true.
think it means a whole lot to them to know that somebody cares where they're at and if they're okay. And as he has grown up and he's all over the world now, he's no longer a baby, he's a big man, I would touch bases with him. He would touch bases with me. One of the things I practice with him, having experienced some things and living in the U.S., I always, when I put him to school, when I pick him up in the afternoon, I would say, how was your day today? What happened in school today? That opened the doors for him to communicate. Children carry around a lot of things bottled up inside because they're afraid to tell their parents while they suffer in a whole lot of silence. And to this day, my son will call me and he'll say, hey, Mommy, how are you doing? How was your day? What do you do today, Mommy? That's what I taught him. And that's what keeps the open communication between a parent and a child as you partner with them in this thing called life. Life ain't easy. Life is not easy. And we have to help our children understand.
Right.
First and foremost, life is not easy, but you've got to know how to deal with it and know that somebody's got your back. Just because you're a parent, that doesn't mean that the child understands that you've got their back. Because if you're not showing them that you've got their back, they're going to find somebody out there to help them, to trust them, and that person could be leading them down a whole nother road that you don't want your child to go. So you better reach out and hold your child's hand, even from a distance, and let them know that you're there for them. You're partnering with them. That's my contribution.
And thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for your contribution on this program. You're listening to Voices on WinFM 98.9. It is 11:49. We have just a few minutes left before we close for the headline news at 12. Yolanda, what is your take? For me, I would agree with the caller when she said that a village can't raise my child. I understood what she meant. And I take that to mean that everybody would have their own. Okay, let me stick a pin. There's a caller trying to get in. Let's take this call. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Devon. How are you doing?
Good morning. I'm fine, thanks.
Your topic is very interesting.
Absolutely.
Yes, there was a time in our history when the village raised our children. In that, when our children left home, they get on the street, they misbehave, the elder people in the community would have scolded our children whether verbally. It was a time when they could have scolded them corporally, throw licks on their behind. I have experienced that myself. Because all of us were looking out for each other's children. We have come to a stage now in our evolution where in this modern day you're hearing, don't watch my child, don't interfere with my child. You try to tell parents, well, your child or your children is behaving on the street. Well, you're watching my child for what you own. And so society has changed. But back then when the society raised the children, we were better people. And so indeed, right now, we try to be careful who are around our children, and because of the culture, people exploiting children now for whatever they want to exploit them for. It's a scary time.
Yeah.
But indeed, there was a time, and those were what we call the good old days, when the community look out for each other. I grew up, my mommy wash, the clothes on the wire, we're gone. If rain falls, somebody in the community is going to come, pick up those clothes and put them inside the house. My mother has to go out. Somebody in the community is going to look after us and make sure we are well taken care of until our mommy come back. And she didn't have to live in fear. Can we do that today? Absolutely not, because of where our society is. And so we have fallen a far cry from where we used to be. Can we get back there? I am not sure, but that was a better time when the community came together and raised the community. Thank you.
Thank you so much, caller, for your contribution to this program. We're still taking your calls. We're trying to get as much calls as possible. It is 11:52. We have just about a few minutes left. But my point before the caller came in was that in terms of it takes a village to raise a child, every adult or every parent, or every adult in this case, would have a different way of disciplining a child. And as the parent, you would know your child. But in terms of getting assistance, that is perhaps necessary. Because it takes a village to raise a child doesn't necessarily mean that every time the child does something wrong, you should hit the child, meaning the other people in the community. But provide guidance, provide a suggestion to the parent. We have a caller. Let's head back to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Hi, good morning. I'm going to totally debunk that, what he said. There has always been, and I'm going to agree with the lady caller.
Mm-hmm.
While it is, yes, we have the village that raises the child, and we can do like what he talked about, the things about picking up the clothes from the line and all of that. There was still a lot of dark secrets that happened a long time ago, where children got molested by persons in the community and so on. It's just that those secrets got held, as those things got held, as opposed to now when people are a lot more outspoken, and we are hearing a lot more now. Okay, so I'm not going to say we've always, as a matter of fact, parents now, because we know what we went through as children, that is why we are a lot more, we scrutinize a lot more, because while our parents were more naive, we are not as naive. Our eyes are wide open as to what can happen, whether it's with that neighbor, whether it's male or female, and all the host of things that can happen between children. So, yes, the community can raise a child for those, in some regard, but we still have to be mindful. We still have to be very mindful. So I'm not going to say the old days were better than today. Today, we, the parents, we scrutinize a lot more. We ask a lot more questions. We pay much more attention than our parents did once upon a time. Thank you.
And thank you so much, caller, for your contribution. When making your contribution, technology was the word that came up in my mind. So perhaps it is a case of these things have been happening in terms of people taking advantage of other people's children. It's just that 50 years ago, we never had WhatsApp. We never had the phone. What's happening now is that people are pulling out a camera. Mm-hmm. And so when you think that you can see my 5-year-old son walking down the road, and you decide to, let's say he was supposed to be home at 3. It's now after 4. You perhaps feel that you have the authority to hit him for whatever reason. People are now taking out a camera and recording you. Now, as I said, hearing that the child was disciplined and seeing how the child was disciplined are two different things. Because seeing it now, you're like, oh my gosh, this was serious. But to some extent, I agree that it takes a village to raise a child, because in the sense that there are certain things that you can do as a community to help parents raise their children. But with what the caller said, you still have to be mindful, because there are some people that are going to seek to take advantage of you and your children.
That's true.
There are some people that you think perhaps may have your children, they care for them when truly they don't, and they just want to exploit them. We have a call. Let's head back to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for the conversation that you're having. It's a very broad topic, but I'll try and just say a few things.
Sure, go ahead.
My mom, I'm one of 5 children. My mom was probably around in her early 20s when she had us. And sometimes I have to think, which 20-year-old has the preparation to parent 5 children? I think you'll find very few, if any. So now we have a lot of younger moms. So we really have to begin a range of things. One of them is parenting skills. Not every parent has it. We have to have a way that we can support parents, young parents, to parent. That's one issue. The other one is just in terms of discipline. I think it's a very loaded word. One of them is that we have to guide the children, as the previous 2 callers ago stated very well. We have to guide kids to become responsible adults. There are stages. We will not discipline or seek to offer support to a 2-year-old in the same way we would a 5-year-old, in the same way we would a 10-year-old or a 15-year-old. We're not losing teenagers because they don't want to be good kids. We're losing them because we do not have enough direction for them. We have to stay in the here and now. When we speak of control, we're not attempting to control. We're attempting to guide. We're attempting to give good support to. And I think these are some of the things that we've sort of gotten away from. When we speak of control, we speak of demanding and hitting and, doing things that are really intrusive. So now we have so many of us who have gone on the opposite end. We grew up saying, I will never raise my child like that. Well, guess what? Here we are. So the pendulum swings. One was too intrusive. Now we're not intrusive enough. And we have all kinds of other external factors influencing what is happening. But we can't blame technology. An apple does not fall far from the tree. And I think that's a very important statement. When we think of communities are very transitional now. They're not as they were before, where you knew everybody living next to you. The factors are changing. Abuse have been around for a lifetime. So we cannot use that as the excuse. Right. So I'm just saying it really is about how do we bring communities together?
Mm-hmm.
How do we introduce ourselves to the neighbor that's new? How do we offer and say, how can I support you? I see that you have this, and that. Is there anything I can do? There are some simplistic humanitarian ways of reaching out. Now we seem to be caught up in a whole bunch of different things that have nothing to do with parenting.
Right.
But supporting, yes, it does. We have to care enough to want to. Anyway, that's just my thought. It's such a broad topic. Really.
Yes.
I think we really have to maintain the attitude that everyone is doing the best that they can. But it doesn't mean that we all have the toolkit in the kit that we need. We're doing the best with what I know how to do. And that's the issue. How do we expand the skills that we each have so that we can become better parents and that we can become better neighbors and then we can then have better communities? Just a thought.
Right. Thank you so much, caller, for your contribution to this program. We're out of time, and so we're going to have to end the first hour for this program to take a break for the headline news. But please stick and stay. When we come back, we continue this conversation. I like the different opinions on this topic, the different views on this topic. Yes, it is a broad topic, and we're going to try our best as much as possible to have a discussion and to touch different areas within this topic. But of course, with your participation, we can do that for you to give your own view and your own opinion on this topic, but it is one that is very interesting in terms of disciplining, way back when and how we discipline children now, and what are some of the factors, the influential factors that change the way how we discipline and generally how we live as people. That statement or that popular sentence, that popular line, it takes a village to raise a child. It is a big one, and it means a lot. And I would say that it has quite a number of definitions. And I would have a different meaning to it. Yolanda, you would have a different meaning to it, but we want to hear from you. So we'll take a break now for the headline news, and when we come back, we'll continue our program right here on WinFM 98.9. You are listening to the first hour of Voices here on WinFM 98.9. I'm your host, Devon Cornelius, and I am joined by Yolanda Weeks. We will be right back. Stick and stay.
Found the sound 98.9 FM.
We now bring you the headline news. The headline news is brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, The Grange, KDP Enterprises, Carib Brewery, and National Bank.
Did you know that National Bank offers very favorable terms and low interest rate to switch your home mortgage? Our in-house legal department will process your mortgage in a jiffy and free of cost. Switch your home mortgage now and get a peace of mind knowing that we are here for you. National Bank, always here.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to Amerijet International, your worldwide cargo transportation solution. We provide all the services you need to ship your goods anywhere in the world, whether your shipment is fresh, frozen, large or small, alive or hazardous. You can count on Amerijet to deliver it safe and sound. Amerijet International, by land, sea or air, we get it there. For more information, visit us online at www.amerijet.com or call us at KDP Enterprises at 466-9595.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built, non-governmental healthcare organization on St. Kitts? It's situated at Otley's, 7 miles east of Basseterre in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodations to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020. Fax 466-8221 or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
Protect your lifestyle with Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Tilly Wall with a local reputation and service for second to none. Securing you is our mission. People that you can trust, your business, property, we got you covered. Motor or personal, whatever it is, we got you covered. 130 years in this business, we've got you covered. For all your insurance needs, visit or call us at 465-2631 or 469-5303. Dealey Walwyn, people you can trust.
With over a century of perfection behind the Mackeson name, a smooth blend with perfect balance and richness, it's no wonder Mackeson Triple Stout has a legacy of perfection. Enjoy the world over. Introducing our new look with the same great taste. Mackeson. All hail the king.
Please drink responsibly.
With the WIN headline news, I am Devon Cornelius. Museum officially opens in honor of the Right Excellent Dr. Sir Simeon Daniel. Government of Venezuela and Government of St. Kitts and Nevis hand over Petrocasas houses. Across the region, Barbados government to pay student nurses a stipend. Internationally, Biden agrees to Ukraine summit with Putin. The details and more straight ahead. The Right Excellent Dr. Sir Simeon Daniel was honored on Saturday, February 19th, when his family and former colleagues and members of the Nevisian public gathered for the grand opening of a museum which would tell of his life, work, and legacy. According to a press release from the museum, the facility is part of a new design that provides engagement and innovation for the public. During the development of the project, careful attention and thought went into creating a range of contents that invite visitors to engage meaningfully with the history and story of Sir Simeon Daniel. An overview of the museum was given by Ms. Thovia France.
Art has been displayed in various mediums, from the magnificent sculpture in the heart of the space to the hanging pieces on display. The audiovisual content has been provided with transcripts for those who prefer to read. There are standing stations, seated kiosks, and sufficient space to take it all in. You will also find a walk around this museum a new experience, with a light, airy, modern space to give our Nevisian legend a suitable, uplifting public memorial space. Yes, this space, as it is once a museum, where we honor the memory of Sir Simeon Daniel, a learning center where we can learn and teach about his life and legacy, and a memorial to quietly reflect on the humility and greatness of the father of modern Nevis. So, whether you are visiting to learn more about Sir Simeon, or you are bringing the family for a day out at the museum, or you're simply coming to this space to pay a tribute and reflect upon the life of this great son of Nevis, we want you to know that there is space here for you, and you are most welcome. I mentioned innovation as another key consideration of the visitor experience. We were keen to ensure that we employ the best technologies available to deliver a seamless and impressive user experience. The space has been outfitted with a range of ambient displayed digital screens, including 4 standing stations around the central statue and multiple seating areas with interactive digital screens. The museum is also supported by a robust server and central networking infrastructure that powers all digital content within the museum for dynamic content delivery and updates.
Sir Simeon I, Premier of Nevis, is seen as one of the political stalwarts on Nevis. His son, Dion Daniel, daughters Claire Jones, Susan Clark, Janice Daniel Hodge, Ingrid Daniel Farrell, and other family members are pleased with the ultra-modern museum that is befitting to reveal the story about the life and times of an icon. Cutting of the ribbon was done by his daughters, followed by a tour of the museum. The opening ceremony for the Right Excellent Dr. Sir Simeon Daniel Museum was chaired by Mr. Rohan Isles and saw remarks by his grandchildren, Miss Dionysia Daniel and Mr. Javon Daniel Farrell. Pastor Davidson Morton delivered the invocation, and the national anthem was beautifully rendered by Miss Janaya Daniel. Senior government officials of the federal cabinet and the Nevis Island administration also attended the grand opening, including the Honorable Vincent Byron Jr., Attorney General and Minister of Justice and Legal Affairs, Minister of Human Settlement, the Honorable Eugene Hamilton, as well as former premiers of Nevis, Mr. Joseph Parry, and Ambassador Vance Amory. A total of 15 houses jointly sponsored by the government of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela and the government of St. Kitts and Nevis were handed over at a ceremony held on Friday, February 18th in Mansion Village, St. Kitts. Calvin Pemberton, project manager, gave a detailed overview of the construction of the Petrocasas houses.
This Petrocasas housing development was completed in 2 phases. Phase 1 was the infrastructure installation. The infrastructure installation included the laying of approximately 1,566 linear feet of concrete roads by 22 feet wide, and we all can testify to the fact that the roads are very wide and appropriately sized. It also encompassed installation of 220 volts electricity with appropriate street lighting. Additionally, it included the installation of some 6,700 linear feet of 4-inch PVC external water pipes. These pipes have been placed on both sides of the road, so there is no need at any time for one to have to disturb the existing pavement. I wish to share with you as well that this development project is outfitted with appropriately sized and designed a fire hydrant system. I was informed by the installer at the time that this development is probably the only housing development that has fire hydrant system appropriately placed throughout. So we give thanks for that. The second phase of the project was the construction of some 15, and we have described them as the Petrocasas houses. The houses are approximately 868 square feet. They are built of reinforced masonry concrete, the traditional way, in the foundation, and the superstructure is of a PVC 5 to 6 inch hollow panel that received reinforced steel rods vertically and horizontally and a slurry concrete mix. So the houses are very structurally sound.
The Petrocasas houses are equipped with 110 and 220 electricity, tiled flooring with ceramic tiles, provision for hot water installation, and significant outdoor lighting. The roads were constructed by Contech Construction Technology, external electrical installation done by New Generation Engineering, and the water installation by Dennis Paul. The construction came at a cost of $3 million EC. Present at the handing over ceremony was Minister of Human Settlement, the Honorable Eugene Hamilton, who said that the government of St. Kitts and Nevis back in 2015 entered into an agreement with the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela to increase the housing stock in the country. Also in attendance was Prime Minister the Honorable Dr. Timothy Harris, Minister of Health the Honorable Akila Barron Nisbet, Marco Antonio Guzman Adrian, Charge the Affairs Ad Hoc of the Embassy of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, as well as members of the Diplomatic Corps.
In regional news,
the Barbados Nurses Association says government's decision to pay student nurses a stipend nearly 8 years after its secession is a boost for the training and development for healthcare workers. BNA President Valerie Francis Miller says they have been lobbying for the restoration of the payment for a long time, and it's a step in the right direction.
The Barbados Nurses Association welcomes the recent announcement made by the Minister of Health and Wellness, the Honorable Ian Gane-Edgell, about the reinstatement of the student nurses' stipend. BNA has been advocating for the return of this stipend from the time of its suspension. It has been a long process to get to this point. However, we see it as a turning point for training and education of nurses in Barbados. We therefore echo the minister's sentiments about this action, helping to reduce the nursing shortage across the health care sector of Barbados.
Health Minister Ian Gooding-Edgell, who announced the move, said 273 student nurses will benefit, and it will cost the government approximately $2 million per year.
This move will benefit 273 student nurses to the tune of approximately $2 million per year. This change in policy is expected to give added incentive to Barbadians to join the nursing profession and help to reduce the current nursing shortage. In addition, government has set out clear criteria by which student nurses will qualify for the payment of the financial stipend. The reintroduction of the stipend will make it possible for students not having to work and study at the same time, while providing some compensation to students for the services provided to healthcare facilities as a component of their clinical training.
The U.S. and Russia have tentatively agreed to a meeting over Ukraine, offering a possible path out of one of the most dangerous European crises in decades. The office of French President Emmanuel Macron said in a statement on Monday he had pitched a summit over security and strategic stability in Europe to his American and Russian counterparts, Joe Biden and Vladimir Putin. White House responded in a statement that Biden would accept the meeting in principle, but only if an invasion doesn't happen. In that statement, Press Secretary Jen Psaki said, quote, "We are always ready for diplomacy. We are also ready to impose swift and severe consequences should Russia instead choose war." Neither the Kremlin nor the Ukrainian president responded to requests for comment. Macron's proposal comes after a week of high tension sparked by Russia's military buildup on Ukraine's borders. U.S.-based satellite imagery shows multiple deployments of Russian units in forests, farms, and industrial areas less than 10 miles from the border. Western countries say it's a prelude to an imminent invasion, which Moscow denies. Details about the proposed summit are unclear, but Macron and the White House said it would be worked out by U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and his Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov during their meeting at the end of this month. It's also uncertain what role Ukraine would play in the summit, if any.
You are listening to the WIN Headline News. Let's recap our top stories. Museum officially opens in honor of the Right Excellent Dr. Sir Simeon Daniel. Government of Venezuela and Government of St. Kitts and Nevis hand over Petrocas's houses. Across the region, Barbados government to pay student nurses a stipend. Internationally, Biden agrees to Ukraine summit with Putin. Thank you for listening.
That was the WIN FM Headline News. The Headline News is brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, The Grange, KDP Enterprises, Carib Brewery, and National Bank.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Protect your lifestyle with Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Dealing well with a low reputation and service for second to none. Securing you is our mission. People that you can trust, your business, property, we got you covered. Motor or personal, whatever it is, we got you covered. 130 years in this business, we've got you covered. For all your insurance needs, visit or call us at 465-20
469-5301 or 469-5303. Delia Walwyn, people you can trust.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built, non-governmental healthcare organization on St. Kitts? It's situated at Otley's, 7 miles east of Basseterre in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodations to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020. Fax 466-8221 or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to Amerijet International, your worldwide cargo transportation solution. We provide all the services you need to ship your goods anywhere in the world, whether your shipment is fresh, frozen, large or small, alive or hazardous. You can count on Amerijet to deliver it safe and sound. Amerijet International, by land, sea or air, we get it there. For more information, visit us online at www.amerijet.com or call us at KDP Enterprises at 466-9595.
Stop standing in long ATM lines to withdraw cash. Use your national debit or black cards to complete a wide variety of transactions at supermarkets, variety stores, gas stations, pharmacies, and more. Shop online at the most popular websites and stores for quality brands using your national debit or black cards. And take back your time to enjoy all the things that you love to do. Remember, instead of waiting in long ATM lines to withdraw cash, use your national bank cards today.
National Bank, always here.
WINN is 98.9. 98.9 is Win FM.
Get your property properly covered today. Constructing your dream house or considering renovating your property? We will make sure your property is properly covered at Guardian General Insurance. Yes, at Guardian General Insurance, we will ensure that your property is properly covered with our private dwelling and contractors all-risk promotion. Visit or call us today and get affordable rates, premium financing arrangements from now until March 31st, 2022. We will properly cover fire, lightning, explosion, thunderbolt, bursting or overflowing of water tanks and apparatus pipes, burglary, theft or larceny, impact by road vehicle, riot, strike or malicious damage, hurricane, earthquake or volcanic eruption, flood, collapse due to subsidence of landslip, loss of rent, cost of temporary accommodation, and much more. So get your property properly covered at SL Horsford and Company Limited, local agents for Guardian General Insurance today. Special terms and conditions apply. Call today at 869-465-9355 for further details.
Welcome back to Voices on 1FM 98.9. Thank you so much for joining us for the second hour. It is 27 minutes past the hour of 12, and you're listening to Voices for today, Monday, February 21st, 2022. I'm your host, Devon Cornelius, and joining me on the program is Miss Yolanda Weeks. The phone lines are open. We're taking your calls at 466-0989 and 762-0989. That is 466-0989 and 762-0989. Of course, we're live on Facebook and YouTube as well as Twitter at Win Media SKN. Welcome back. So we are now, we're continuing the conversation, and we are looking at this. It takes a village to raise a child. And of course, we're going to have different views on this, but we want to hear from our callers, Juliana. So we're heading back to the phone lines, and there are some callers trying to get in, so let's take this call. Caller, good afternoon. You're on the air. Okay, you seem to have lost that caller. Please call us back at 466-0989 and 762-0989. So that is the big question, or not the question, but this is the popular phrase or sentence statement. It takes a village to raise a child. And many would ask, what does that mean? And people would give your own different explanation as to what they think it really means. The last caller we had before the headline news raised something that we had a conversation a short while ago just before. And it has to do that, were people really caring for our children? So while we know that it took a village to help us raise our children, were they really doing it because they had a genuine love for those children? Were they really doing it because they actually cared? We want to have a conversation on that. Don't get me wrong. This is not to suggest that everybody is the same and some people are all mistreated or used children. But we can't deny that some of it, or there was a possibility of it happening. We can't deny that. But this question, this statement that we often use, it takes a village to raise a child. Yolanda, we have some callers trying to get in, so we'll take these calls, okay? Caller, good afternoon. You're on the air.
Hey, good afternoon, Devon.
Good afternoon. How are you doing?
And you know, I am always giving God thanks, you know. We have made it to February 21st, and we have a lot to give God thanks for. Good morning to all the listeners, home and abroad. That is quite an interesting statement. Can we go back? The answer is no. The answer is no. The culture has changed. Everybody wants to assert their individual and their personal rights. So, you know, have the right of the child, the right of the parent, the right of everybody. But there was a genuine desire for better. Because if you go back into that situation, that era, everybody poor. The parents, most of whom would have come to a lot of hardships. And with the colonial system of teaching, they actually taught you manners in school and how to say please and thank you, So our parents were well cultured along those lines of politeness, virtues. With the breakdown of all of that, people question all the virtues. Do you have to be kind? Do you have to be truthful? Do you have to be honest? Do you have to care about anybody? We now have a self-preservation culture. And again, with the breakup of their families, you no longer have families that include aunt and uncle. Me and my children live over here, and my relatives live over there, and nobody is supposed. It is seen as an intrusion into their affairs. That's how it is. So even you with your nice mind, I have run into that a lot of times. You see children going astray and you talk to the parent or the child. Only one child, only one child when you see. Make you not go mind your one. Now with that kind of attitude, you expect which village and which part of the village will raise the children? Which part really? Which part? Do we have established virtues or values? People will say do anything to get ahead. Do anything to get ahead at any cost. So who in that community will raise the children? Who? When you see
That's a big
adults
question.
engaging in some activities, drugs and guns and crime, which and who? When you see children, people robbing, and the community participating in the fruits of crime, which one of them could dare talk about them and raise a child? The prostitution and the whatever going on in the community, which one of them? Let me say which one of us then, God make it sound better. Which one of us? Because the children are not, they are very vocal, put it that way. Before time you ever think something about an adult, you swallow it. In my days, you couldn't accuse, even though you were right, and you saw Tom thief the chicken or whatever, you couldn't accuse him. Nowadays, which one? We have corrupted ourselves. So I don't know. The children got to raise themselves. Maybe to education, they now have exposure, books and podcasts and whatever. The churches have got to teach virtues, and it has to be demonstrated there, because that is the only place left now, So the church can raise the children, not the school, because in the school you can't diss them, you can't touch them, you can't talk to them too hard. The guidance counselors have different virtues to us, where you may be talking about abstinence, and then you'll have in your sex education, well, all you need to do to protect yourself, abstinence gone to the door. Marriage is downplayed. So who really is to raise the children? All I would encourage parents to do the best you can, because that is your responsibility. And by your lifestyle, because children are stupid. Before time you see your parents living a certain way, you dare not confront them. Even the smallest child will confront the parent now. So by your life, you must live a life of virtue and good example, so that you can help your children. Now, some of them get carried away, because what you're saying to them is not the norm.
Right.
All right, then.
Carla, thank you so much for your contribution to this program. Quite a lot to think about and to feed off of. But it brings us back to, it takes a village to raise a child. Or does it? So, the questions that were posed by the caller, very pertinent questions, Yolanda. But before you give your take, let's head back to the phone lines. We have some more callers. Caller, good afternoon. You're on the air.
Good afternoon, Devon.
Good afternoon.
How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. What about you?
I'm doing great. Let me say good afternoon to Mrs. Henry. Devon, and to all hearing my voice today, this is Journey. I'm going to ask you a question, Devon. Do you think that we can move away from what we are seeing today on social media? And one example that I'm going to bring to you, like you have seen on social media whenever a fight break out between two individuals, that those who are standing, just the first thing they take out is their phone and start to record. Have you seen that on social media?
I have, yeah.
Devon?
I have, yes.
Okay. Do you think we can move away from that as a people? Do you think we will ever move away from that?
No.
I don't think so.
No. For those who said that the culture has changed, who changed our culture? Devon, there was a time when the community did raise a child. The village did raise a child. What we have today that came from the United Nations, we have child have rights. You know, we have crippled everything that is our culture and our tradition, and we are now moving into what the United Nations have given us. We had our culture before, Devon. And Mrs. Henry, I am so surprised that she, you know, classifies herself as a Christian, but her limit of the power of the Word of God that is written in the book that teaches us, as it was in the beginning, so shall it be in the end. I want Mrs. Henry to expound on this for me, because I believe the fact that we were broken and we have strayed from what was our culture. And the book says, as it was in the beginning, so shall it be in the end. This is inevitable. We must go back to the way it was in the beginning, Devon. Knowledge has increased and everything that we have in technology. But the book also says there is nothing new under the sun. So if Mrs. Henry could explain to me what it meant when it says, as it was in the beginning, so shall it be in the end, and nothing is new under the sun. The technology that we have today, it was there before. One would say, okay, well, they probably just amplify the technology. But everything is so profound in this book that we're reading.
Mm-hmm. But
surely we have to...
Mm-hmm.
Hello?
Yeah, but if I may interject, we're talking about going back to where it was and how it used to be way back when, before technology and before children had rights and all of that. We are suggesting that that is the right way and that was the right way, but we don't know of the, as the caller earlier suggested, we don't know of the problems that we now have in society that is as a result of what happened 40 and 50 years ago. The reason why we don't know is because at that time there was no influence from no media, no technology. And so we thought that everything that we did or that happened 50 and 40 years ago, even more, was absolutely right. We are talking about going back to allowing the village to raise a child. But at the same time, we have to take into consideration that there were some people that genuinely did not like you or your children. And so the bad mind and the hatred and the jealousy ain't just starting in 2005. It started way back when. It's just that, no, hold on. It's just that technology is now here. Go ahead.
Okay, yes. Now bear in mind that we have technology. And you see, the thing is, Devon, if all of us, if it was like that in the beginning, and you and I don't know what that was, but let us just picture that let us picture the way it was when the community did raise a child, and they had all that they had in their culture, their tradition, and their spirituality. What kind of life was it? Were they happy? Were they satisfied? We don't know. But the fact that the word says that as it was in the beginning, so shall it be in the end, that is profound. Now, if all of us was to put down social media and get intact with our history and our culture, don't you think that's going to make a crippling change on all that we have right now? Because what we have is not ours, Devon. I am not talking about technology. I'm talking about what was imposed upon us by the United Nations. Because they have broken us from our culture. They broke us from everything that we knew. Our history, our names, everything they broke us from. And we have crippled all that is ours, and we have converted to everything that is theirs. And it is for no good for us. That's the message I want us to focus on. Thank you for hearing me.
And thank you so much, caller, for your contribution to this program. We're still taking your calls here on Voices on WinFM 98.9. Yolanda, what is your take on that? If you have no take right now, we have another caller on the line. Let's head back to the phone lines. Caller, good afternoon. You're on the air.
Hey, good afternoon, Devon. Good afternoon, Journey. Keep traveling. Keep traveling. You know, the Bible says, sort the scripture, in them you think you have eternal life, and they speak of Jesus. Now, as it was in the beginning, so shall it be in the end. What is the context? We have a way of taking words out of context, you know. We quote a piece of a scripture, Peter of a verse. Let us get to the United Nations Rights of the Child. Have you ever read it? Have you ever read it? A right to education, right to a name, right to a citizenship. What is wrong with a lot of them? I mean, really. We have to admit a lot of child abuse took place under the caption of chastisement. They're not getting around it. The older people could tell you a right to education. There were parents who kept their children at home, took them out of school, sent them to work.
Yeah.
So when we make united, you make us black people look stupid, you know. Go through all of the conventions, even the one with human rights. Go through it, one by one. These are, you see, in some countries have more rights than others. Not more rights, but access, eh? The society have developed so much that they, in their constitution, and so they have Bill of Rights. Where a right is not specified, you can't implement it. Many children for the first time learned that they had rights. Now, if the child was brought up without any knowledge of rights, you know, many people have been deprived. Take our age, 50 years, 60 years old people, 70 years. Now, if we knew that we had a lot of these rights, a right to a name. You look on the birth paper. I don't have no father name on mine, you know. Each child have a right to a name. Before 1984, whatever, children were illegitimate. The birth paper on your mother name, father name dash, your father name dash. Now you can't have your father name on your paper, so you don't go there like your mother went to prostitute and get you. A right to citizenship. So the children born here of foreign parents, they have a right. So this UN thing you hook up on, that has helped to stop a lot of wars. Come here, you're saying, you know, they must come out of and go into what? You know the war would have started long time in Ukraine? We must examine our logic. Go on the UN website, look at the different rights. There's a right for people with disabilities. Some people don't even know. Right to work, a right to mate, a right to marry, a right to do access. Nobody could just go and castrate them or put them on. These are no rights that they never had. They never didn't even know. So you can't say, well, she's disabled, so she can't get no children, so you go and you sterilize her. They never have right. They're good rights. Now, in a country where you already have access to a lot of rights. Some of them seem like an imposition, but there are many countries out there. Muslim countries, China, a lot of other countries where these rights don't even exist. Look what happened to Afghanistan. They're going back again by taking women out of the labor force, putting children into marriage to old, great old men. And you're going to sit down there and say, oh, we must come out to... Check Africa. 'Cause I think we romanticize in Africa, you know. Which country in Africa, which one of them, have any of the old ancient system? Africa is modernized in order to be left behind. You live in a village and that was your world. The world is, they say in Kenya. In Kenya is the most cashless country, you know that? Devon?
I did not know that, no.
Oh, you didn't know that?
No.
In the world.
Wow.
They do their money to the phone. The ordinary, you go buy your bread or your sweetie by the road. Kenya. I mean, Africa way ahead. You think anybody back, all of those back in the villages feel content? When they come to the city and they see skyscraper, lights, and they're out there in some kind of dark, bushy place? We romanticize in Africa. Africans have as much desire. And this thing about genitalia, castrating girls, where girls ain't got right. So suppose the UN, please go on the UN website and read the different conventions and see where it has corrupted our people. Because I'm telling you, a lot of our older parents were brutal. They were brutal. So I don't say that. And as it was in the beginning, when men had far from God, they're going, if they start so, they're going to finish so, unless they repent. And I would encourage him, continue reading. I admire him for reading, you know, because they got some people, they don't read, they don't check. All I hope is at the end of your search, you find the true God. And this thing about wanting to go back. Go back where? Which country in Africa going back? Which one? Call one. Even with the Muslims. If they're posting videos of what they're doing, you know, suppose they stay out. Well, we're not going to touch technology because it's out there. They got all the bazooka and all. It's out there. And nothing new under the sun is a principle, you know. The trick that people work on people today, they're working them still.
All right, then.
Technology would increase, and the Bible says that knowledge will increase. And the children of today are not the children of yesterday.
Right.
Even if they did not read the UN Convention on the Child, right of the child. They watch television. A lot of us have got to read and think.
All
Our
right,
children, it becomes the responsibility of the parents again
Right. Thank you, caller, so much.
to raise the children.
Thank you so much
You
for your...
can't depend on something that is not fit to raise them.
Right. Thank you,
And
caller,
our
so much
villages are
for
not
your
fit.
contribution. Thank you so much, caller. I'm glad that you raised the Convention on the Rights of the Child, and I actually have it right here with me, which speaks to access to education, food, clothing, and safe home, social and economic relief. It speaks to children without families, protection from violence, protection of sale and trafficking, protection from sexual abuse, protection from harmful work, rest, play, culture, arts, protection in war, recovery and reintegration, It speaks to children who break the law. Best law for children applies. And it speaks to a number of rights that children have. And the caller touched on something earlier. Because, and back to the point that I made, we are suggesting that going back to the old time days is the solution to our problem. Is it? What is your take on that, Joanna?
There's a lot of questions. There are a lot of questions. We are not certain that the whole "it takes a village to raise a child" was really effective. Maybe back then created some monsters today.
And that is my exact thought. Again, this is not trying to disregard the contribution that was made then and what people did, because believe it or not, there were some people that had a genuine love for children and they really wanted them to do well. There were some neighbors that they looked out for their other neighbors' children. They made sure that they were home on time. Sometimes when you're hungry as a little child, you could go by your neighbor and get something to eat. Not today. So we have to, be as balanced as fair as possible when we're talking about this. But you can't neglect the fact that there's some dark things that happen.
Like the caller said earlier.
And we cover it up with, I don't even know what we cover it up with, but it was covered up. And because at that time there was no influence from the technology, nobody knew about it. And even if you spoke about it, there was no evidence to substantiate your claim. There was nobody brave enough to say back then that so-and-so raped me, so-and-so sexually abused me. I saw this person stole. You understand? That's it right there. So maybe, just maybe, we had a case of where people were exploiting children. And we dubbed it as culture. We dubbed it as doing the right thing. And today, we're now faced with so many challenges, so many issues within our society. And I think we have done the same thing in terms of blaming technology or blaming the media. Don't get me wrong, there is some influence in technology and what we see on the movies, television, and all of that, as we discussed during our break. But while we were not there, we have, and we heard it from a caller, that there were some things that happened. The caller said there were some parents that were brutal, and we categorize that as discipline, which brings back the conversation of discipline
or abuse.
Because this is a delicate conversation, Yolanda, and it is one that requires, us, really listening to people's different opinions on this particular topic. But it is an interesting one, and as we're here talking about this, we want to have a more detailed conversation on this, hearing from some experts in the field, talking with teachers, with guidance counselors, with parents, with children themselves, with different people to get a better understanding of this. But there are a lot of people now in society that did not get the opportunity to go to school. Is that something we want to go back to? I don't think so.
we shouldn't.
I don't think so. The Convention on the Rights of a Child is now saying that you have the right to access to education. Well, thank God I went to school. Thank God you went to school. The phone lines are open and we're taking your calls here on Voices. Yolanda, we have a call. Let's take this call. Caller, good afternoon. You're on the air.
Devon.
Hi, good afternoon.
my mother never abused me yet. The only place my mother did not beat me was in my mind and under the sole of my feet. Okay, which means I get licks every other part of my body. It was not abuse. She was disciplining me to keep me in line. Today, we are hearing this crazy talk that if you smack a child, you abuse a child.
Yeah.
And so we have children growing up now with very, very little respect for parents. We adapting part of North American culture, where you know in North America you hit a child, they call the police come and lock up the parent. We have this foolishness come all the way down into the Caribbean, where we are now saying that if you take a strap and beat a child, you take a rod and beat a child, it is abuse. And so I do not know what abuse is like from my parent, but I know what abuse was like from a principal of a school. And I only understood the abuse from him when he said to my mother in my presence, the reason why he keep beating up upon me because he didn't like the best bone in me. And so the other teachers, them used to spank me. I didn't see it as abuse. When he was beating me, I didn't see it as abuse. Until one day I decided, no, I can't take this. I'm going to go home and tell my mother. I went home and told my mother. My mother showed up at the school asking what happened. And he was bold enough to say to my mother, the reason why I do him what I do to him is because I don't like the best bone in him. Now, what that did to me, that turned me into a monster and I tell him I'm going to kill him. And I do everything within my power to try to knock his head off his body. Because now it is war. He had declared war on me. Let us go back to the question of the society, Devon. Because you asked the question when you came back.
Yes.
That if the society genuinely cared about the children in the community or they wanted to abuse us. From my experience, and I'm not going to call names of the persons in the community who helped to raise me, but from my experience, the adult in the community had our best interest at heart. It had nothing to do with abuse. Did abuse take place in the community? Yes. Incest was in the community from way back then. Fathers were getting children by their daughters. Was it an accepted norm? No. And so evil was always around. But in the greater part, 90%, 95% of the adult in my community that I grew up in genuinely cared about us. They showed us that they cared about us. And so when we went wrong, we were scolded. Like I said earlier, only one person ever beat me outside of my mother. But the generation before my generation came along, you will hear them say, well, if my mother and so-and-so was not speaking, and I pass so-and-so on the street and don't say good morning, so-and-so hold me, give me a whipping. When I go home and I tell my mommy, so-and-so give me a whipping, what did he whip you for? Because I didn't tell him good morning or how good morning. That's another whipping. Whatever happened between us and adult, that is not your business. You respect the adult wherever. I am saying that society that I grew up in and the one before is a better society than this one that we are living in. We, no matter how we spin it, this society has gone down the drain, and I'm agreeing with Johnny, because we have adapted North America principles, and we see it. Because they say that teachers can't be children, children can't be parents can't be children. The children are beating the parent. The children are beating the school. I think it was last week I was looking on Facebook. I think it's in Tortola, I believe it was. Some of our Caribbean country.
Yeah.
There's a student in school trying to bang off a teacher.
Yeah, I saw that.
Why? And the teacher cannot put his hand upon that child, but the child could chuck the teacher. Now, who has brought these things into our society? We have adapted everything that a North American do, and we try to justify it because, yes, there was some abuse in our society. Yes, it has always been there. We, African people, were developed in a particular way in Africa, and we were happy in our environment. The European came into Africa, and they corrupt everything about our upbringing, our livelihood, our lifestyle, our practices. And so therefore, we have become like them. And just like North America is going on the drain in every sense of the way, so the rest of the world is going on with it. Because what? We move away from our founding principle. And so I said all of this to answer your original question. The adult in the society in which I lived had the best interests of us, the children in the community at heart. And so they discipline us. Could I say the very same thing about this society that we are living in? I don't think I can say that. Because the society has changed in every sense of the word. Do we need to get back to where it was like in my society? I'll say yes. Method of discipline might have changed. Principles should always remain the very same thing. And the thing is, we have changed principles. And so because we have changed principles, we find ourselves in this morass that we're in. Because the foundation, we have pushed aside the original foundation, and we establish our own foundation to suit North American culture. No matter how you put it and you spin it, that is what it is. North America or the United Nations put down their rules and regulations, and we follow them line, hook, and sinker. Thank you very much.
All right, then, caller, thank you so much for your contribution to this program. We have another caller on the line. Let's take this call. Caller, good afternoon. You're on the air.
Yeah, good afternoon. The topic you're speaking about, young people, how to raise children. Hello?
Yes, hello, caller. Go ahead.
Yeah, very interesting topic, my friend. Very, very interesting topic. It was going on. And it's not just going on today. What's going on in the Federation, I think it's maybe 3 years. A lot of people are afraid to touch the hard topic when it comes to our children, though. And when you look at the situation, what's happening, especially to a lot of our young girls, and it's been going on for years. We just saw a case the other day, some weeks ago. It happened to a young lady in this community. Very disappointed in the way how the people in charge operate. You know, when you poor people, a lot of stuff, as the guys will say, sweep under the carpet. We're afraid to take hard stand because some of us don't want to disrespect people. Secondly, a lot of us as fathers dropping the ball. Drop off the money and drop off the shoes or drop off whatever and go about the business. But we blame everybody for the children them behavior and the children them how they grow up. Where's the love? Look at the leaders today and before. I'm not working. I got 3 children. But who cares? Who cares? But I'm raising the children them and I'm raising them to be lovely children. There are a lot of things to be talk about what's going on when it comes to children, parenting. They're only putting that many on us right now. But we don't want to point the fingers to the situation. I just had my son school this morning. Before he turned off, Daddy give me a hug. He only said, I just asked my daughter, she took her, she asked Daddy give me a kiss. She only 6. Who are seeing these kind of things? Because all we see, y'all are on the road to make him eyes. But nobody's seeing the good father. Nobody's seeing the wonderful job I do in the community with all these kids. Because some of us only seen a one mind and a one track. And I said to you, brother, a lot of us as fathers need to step up to the plate. Sometimes you see the man on the terminal line and a lot of them are children. But they just have the money and they're alive. You never see them. Some of them are children. Some of them are children big, 15, 16. But you never see them spending some time with the kids. but we blame everybody. And you're right, sometimes you have to blame the government to a point. What is we doing as fathers? Look at some of the young girls. They get to train and they want them every weekend. They want the best clothes every weekend. Somebody saying, "My whole and that's right." Some people tell me that could need a car. I say, yeah, but what do I need a car for? 4 tires cost how much? So you have to make up your mind when you get children.
Right.
That you're going to be responsible for your children. And a lot of us don't care. We're going to train them and we just work out that we're going to live the same normal style. We're going to do the same thing. And you can see every weekend I used to go up on the place. No children, but now you're busy. What if I do a must adjustment in town? Buy some stuff, so that I home and cook something for when the children come home. You understand what I'm saying about that?
Yeah, I'm following you, man.
Eat a plate of food and anything about kind home some.
Right.
How? Why some of us living like this? Why some of these fathers who live like this? Why the children want love? That's all they're asking for. Somebody to love them. Yeah, the father, my father, the mother, the stone donors. But guess what? I always say I can't live a life like that. My children must be part of my life. My son living me since he's 16. He's 16 years. When he's 17 in April. Every weekend, my kids come by me. The son still last night at time school this morning. When he finished eating, Daddy, the food was delicious. Daddy, thanks. Daddy, you're the best daddy in the world, my daughter. Yeah, that cry like a little child. Cry because when she lift up, she hugged me up. So, Daddy, you're the best daddy. But nobody's seen all these kind of things. Because some of us afraid to tell the children we love them. Some of us don't want to kiss his son. Some of us don't want to hug up his son. Some of us don't want to hug up his daughter. Because we're not hugging up your child. Oh, somebody can say it's anti-man. Oh, you hug up your daughter show your love. You can talk in the negative. What are we doing, my people? Our children is our future. The future is in our hands. We need to spend more time. Listen to them laughing. Listen to them talking. Yeah, there is a country. I said, I will ask. My daughter said, Daddy, you need a map. I want to see if you understand what you're saying. I said, well, I need a map. Because you say you lost to find where you're going. 26 years. These are the things we need to see our children do. And some of these fellows let the children them go, and the children leave them alone. Leave the young girls alone. Leave the young boys alone. Let them be children. And again, before my brother, a lot of us as fathers need to step up to the plate. Stop drop off the money. Stop buying the most expensive shoes and feel that the children are okay. They want the father love. They want the mother love. Spend time. You guys have a lovely day. I'll say no more.
Caller, thank you so much for your contribution to this program. It is 10 minutes past the hour. We have to take a break. When we come back, we'll take some more calls. The phone lines are ringing off the hook, but we have to take this break. When we come back, we'll continue Voices right here on WinFM 98.9. Stick and stay. We'll be right back.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9 Win FM.
Horswood's Building and Nevis Centers continues to make your lawn and gardening easy. Go to Horswood's Building and Nevis Center now and get 25% off store-wide on the entire lawn and garden equipment. Yes, for the months of February and March, Horswood's Building Center and Nevis Center is making improving your lawn and garden easy with 25% off garden supplies, garden equipment, garden accessories, including weed eaters, lawnmowers, and much more. Get 25% off all lawn and garden items happening now at Horswood's Building Center in St. Kitts and Nevis. Horswood's Building and Nevis Centers, making home improvement easy. Terms and conditions apply. See store for details.
Welcome back to Voices. Let's take this call. Okay, we lost that caller. Caller, good afternoon. You're on the air.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, and greetings in the name of Jesus Christ, the only Savior of sinners, and the second person of the eternal Trinity. Now, I would like to say, first of all, our rights and responsibilities do not come from man. They do not come from governments. They do not come from the United Nations. They do not come from any human origin. All of our rights and responsibilities come from God only through His scriptures, the Holy Bible. And a lot of what we are considering to be rights cannot be found in the Bible, and therefore they are not rights. And another thing, we love to talk about rights, but we don't like to talk about responsibilities. Well, both of them come from God towards us. And when it comes to children, it is the God-given responsibility for parents to bring them up in the fear and admonition of Jesus Christ. That is the responsibility of children. Now, it is said that children have a right to an education. No, children do not have a right to education, because that cannot be found in the Bible. What can be found in the Bible is that the parents have the duty and responsibility by God to educate them, especially to educate them in the Word of God.
I think
that is what really goes.
Not to cut you off,
Yes?
caller, but I disagree with you when you said children do not have a right to education. But your comment that followed that is basically the same thing, saying that parents have a responsibility to educate their children.
Right.
It's the same thing.
No, it's different.
No, it's
really
not. It's the
different.
same thing. Children having a right to education doesn't necessarily mean that the child must get up, go out by themselves, and they. In other words, children having access to education doesn't suggest that the responsibility rests at their feet. Of course, as the parent, you have to make sure that they get that access to education.
Well, okay. The biblical way to say it, the biblical way to say it is that it is the God-given responsibility of the parents to educate their children. And by the way, that is not a responsibility of the government. Education of children is not a responsibility of the government. It is only the responsibility of the parents. And education in the Bible is in the context and in the worldview of what the scripture says. And let me also say that. Let me also say this as well. It is very dangerous, and it is wrong, and it is not true, to say that rights come from man, big government, the United Nations. And if it was true, which it is not, but if it was true that rights came from governments, the United Nations, or whatever, then they could be taken back. Because what a person give you, they can take back by right. But since our rights and responsibilities come from God, nobody can take them back. All they can do is just hinder you and restrict you from exercising them, but they cannot take them back from you because they were given to you by God. And these are things we need to learn. Also, the dignity of man also come from God alone. And why does man have dignity, including children? Because we were all created in the likeness and image of God, and that is what gives us our dignity as well.
Right. Thank you, caller, so much for your contribution. Let's take this other call. Caller, good afternoon. Okay, we seem to have lost that caller. We just want to take some calls for the rest of the afternoon. We want to hear from you, the callers, your take on this very interesting conversation. Let's head back to the phone lines. Caller, good afternoon. You're on the air.
Good afternoon. I would like to add something to your discussion.
Sure.
I think that the United Nations document is a beautiful one. I've studied it, I've written about it on the rights of the child. Also, going to those who will quote the scriptures and go into the scriptures. Jesus said, if we can be like little children, we will see the kingdom. And he also said that if anyone does anything to children, that the punishment against them will be so severe. And we are all God's children. But sometimes the way we do things to our own brothers and sisters, people in the community, it is so bad-minded and so terrible that, God will have to punish. I had a friend from Haiti, and he said, Haiti is how it is, and the people are there. And I agree with the past discussions that said that, the earthquakes that came there, it had nothing to do with any kind of hobby or anything. But he's saying some of the bad-minded, that he was speaking about his own country and what he experienced there. But he said some of the bad-minded things, it's no way that people can prosper off of that. What we do to people, it comes back. This one thing I know, albeit or not, karma is so sure. And sometimes the bad-mindedness fall right back, not on you, sometimes your children. So people got to be careful with bad-mindedness. They see a child coming up, God bless your child to be bright, they can't stand it. Big people grudging other people's children. Too much bad-mindedness in one country, got to go wrong. Thank you.
And thank you, caller, for your contribution. The phone lines are still ringing off the hook, Ilana, and so we want to give callers the opportunity to air their voice. So let's head back to the phone lines. Caller, good afternoon. You're on the air.
Hi, good afternoon, Mr. Cornelius.
Good afternoon.
How are you, sir?
I'm great, thanks.
I caught the gist of your topic when a gentleman called in and agreed with the previous caller, which I did not hear, Johnny. And I, myself, as a parent of 3 daughters, I wanted to break that mold growing up, where I always would have heard that, your father is a good for nothing worthless person, and all those comments. And I played such a pivotal role in my children's lives. I agreed with the mother that I would take them through the primary aspect. Taking them to school, making sure that they get from school, being at all of the PTA meetings, contributing to the PTA meetings, suggestion, how can we? Tucker Clark in Newtown. I suggested about the speed bumps, and there are speed bumps at the Tucker Clark. And so I played a pivotal role by being there for them. Not just, giving the mother the money and forget about that. I played a pivotal role in their education. But I must say that education, I agree that education starts with the parents and the wider community, because the discipline starts there also. It's not everything the parent, like the biological parent, would see, but that responsibility went beyond the particular parent or parents to the community, the wider community. So I would have been disciplined by someone who wants to see me. In fact, I was saved in one of the big drains on Sandon Road by a lady named Miss Ryan, God bless her soul. She scooped me out of the drain, because when it rained like how it's raining now, the drains are swollen going towards the coast on the Bay Road, the town Bay Road. And she scooped me out. I would have gone in the sea water. How old I was, I could not remember. I was told so, and I believed it. So this is how we play pivotal roles in our children's lives. I'm glad that our callers are weighing in on things that was scourged and things that we heard about other islands and their culture and their customs. And I'm glad that persons are beginning to defer that no, that cannot be so, because disasters happen, man-made or not, disasters happen, and then you just can't hinge it on a particular thing because a particular person practice drinking bush every morning or whatsoever. So I'm glad that. Also, Greg is listening, and he did say something on your radio when you host the program that he wanted to know my source. I did give him the source already, but I'll take this opportunity to tell Greg that the source is written by a PhD, a philologist, one that studies languages, a linguist. His name is Dr. Nana, N-A-N-A, Banchie, B-A-N-C-H-I-E, Dakwa, D-A-R-K-W-A-H, Nana Banchie Dakwa. And the name of the title of the book is The Africans Who Wrote the Bible. That's my source. You quote your source, I'm giving you my source. We can beg to differ on the sources. Not only that, I can extend by learning you the book. I have the book. So I can lend you the book. You could, whatever, a week or two. If you suffice and you want to continue, cool. Just the introduction part, you can browse. Thanks for listening.
All right then, caller, thank you so much for your contribution. That was the last caller. It is 25 minutes past the hour of 1. We're going to have to begin wrapping up today's program. Yolanda, do you have anything that you would want to share at this time? Any closing comments for our good listeners? I must say that it was a very good program. We want to have something like this again, but of course with more information such as statistics and data to support what we're saying, and to better inform you, the general public. But very interesting conversation that we had today, and I love the strong public opinions on this topic of, well, the initial topic was disciplinary methods and what did you do? What did you do then that made you get legs or something along that lines? But that conversation or that specific topic opened up the door to so many other things, which is good. Good conversation. But anything you want to share at this point in time?
Devon, me as well. I am quite impressed with the inputs of the callers today, the interest. And I must agree with Curtis that we as parents, we should spend more time with our children.
Absolutely.
Some of us, we are not as close to our children as we should be. And I'm not saying physically, but emotionally and mentally. I think that is very important. So going forward, I would like to admonish parents to really take that time out, especially fathers, to spend time with the children, hear them out, see them grow. It's not just about that money, but spending that quality time. And of course, there are good fathers out there, very good fathers out there, and grandfathers like mine who are doing a phenomenal job in helping to raise the children. The conversation doesn't stop here. We should continue speaking about this, and like you said earlier, getting the information, data, statistics from the experts in this area and see where that will take us.
Mm-hmm. Right, I wholeheartedly agree. And we're promising that we're going to have a follow-up to this conversation with more in-depth information, and we're going to try to get some experts on the panel for us to have a conversation surrounding this topic. This has been Voices on WinFM 98.9. Thank you so much for your participation in today's program. Without you, it would not have been possible. So again, thank you so much. And until next time, stay safe. Continue to wear your mask, wash your hands. Please don't drink and drive. Please wear your seatbelt and continue to enjoy the rest of your Monday. You guys take care.
You found the South. 98.9 FM.
Supermarket shoppers understand that convenience matters. At Hortspur's Value Mart IGA, we know that price matters most.